Welcome to This Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here with me today because we're going to unpack something truly transformative. Seriously, we're talking about a massive mindset shift here. The journey from just passively watching your own ambitions to actually becoming a powerful, active participant in your life. We're pulling our insights today from a brilliant reflective piece by a writer and investor named Salima, titled Be the Woman in the Arena. Now, if you've ever felt like you're just sitting on the sidelines, watching everyone else live out those dreams you secretly harbor, well, you're going to want to pay close attention to this one. Let's dive right in.
Okay, setting the stage with Section 1, The Man in the Arena.
So Salima kicks off her piece by setting up this ultimate contrast between the doer and the critic. And she roots this in one of the absolute most famous speeches of the 20th century. Theodore Roosevelt said, "It is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." Now, Roosevelt spoke those words well over a century ago, but they still resonate with so much power, right? Salima actually took this classic framework and posed a deeply modern, deeply personal question. She asked, what does it mean to be the woman in the arena today? What does it actually look like to show up exactly where you want to be, even and especially when you feel like you totally don't belong there yet?
To answer that, we move into Section 2, Watching from the Sidelines.
See, to figure this out, we have to really examine what it means to be a spectator. Salima shared this deeply personal story about how imposter syndrome basically kept her at arm's length from her goals. She would look at powerful women like Arlen Hamilton and Serena Williams building these incredible venture capital firms, and she'd feel this massive spark of inspiration. But right alongside that inspiration came this paralyzing doubt. She basically convinced herself that the world of venture capital inherently belonged to other people, just not her.
And why did she feel that distance? Well, it all came down to perceived barriers. You know the drill. Thinking you need the right passport, the perfect background, the elite education, the right connections, or that you literally have to look and sound a certain specific way. I really want you to take a second and think about how heavy a list like that is. Because when we convince ourselves that we're missing this imaginary set of perfect credentials, we effectively lock ourselves completely out of the arena. We just stay outside watching.
Which brings us to a huge turning point. Section 3, Stepping into the Room.
Because here's the thing, just observing isn't really living. Salima made this conscious, bold decision to stop watching life happen for everyone else and actually step into the room. And she didn't do it by suddenly having all the answers or figuring everything out perfectly. She simply started speaking openly to people about the investment company she wanted to build. And the moment she did, wow, the immediate rewards were just staggering. Suddenly, she's hopping on calls with investors in Indonesia. She's reviewing actual investment opportunity decks. She's literally walking into showrooms in Kuala Lumpur, evaluating land, looking at companies and massive property developments. Real conversations about building real wealth became her everyday normal reality. She realized there are people living like this every single day, and for the very first time, she wasn't completely detached from them. She was actually one of them.
So how did a rapid transformation like that even happen? Well, it wasn't because she just magically became an expert overnight. She used to think she needed, absolute total knowledge and perfection before even starting. But what actually changed was her identity and her willingness to just take action. She stopped seeing herself as somebody who just watches powerful people build the world, and she started identifying as someone fully capable of participating in it. The shift didn't happen on a resume, it was entirely in her identity.
Which naturally leads us to the most vulnerable, terrifying question anyone can ever ask themselves when starting something new. Am I ready?
No. And honestly, that is the absolute most empowering no you'll ever hear. Salima candidly admits she's not fully ready. There's still so much she has to learn. She still walks into rooms feeling nervous, knowing full well she might be the least experienced person sitting at the table. She still questions if she truly belongs. But here is the magic of it all. She's doing it anyway, because staying in the crowd, watching other people build extraordinary lives, that's just no longer an option for her.
So let's talk about you. Section 4, Entering Your Own Arena.
I really want to pivot the lens directly onto you right now and apply this to whatever dreams you might be holding back on. Because the arena does not ask you to arrive perfect. It just asks you to arrive willing. And I absolutely love this because it completely dismantles that illusion we all kind of suffer from, this idea that you need some kind of outside permission or total mastery, or to be totally fearless before you can start. You don't. The arena literally does not care about your perfection. What it does care about is that you arrive willing. Willing to learn, willing to be completely uncomfortable, willing to ask questions, willing to look like an absolute beginner, willing to grow publicly, where everyone can see your messy, imperfect progress.
And yes, willing to fail while daring greatly. The safety of the crowd, it asks for none of those things, but the arena demands all of them.
So I gotta ask, what is your arena? Maybe it's that business you've been wanting to build, the career you've been way too intimidated to pursue, that book you want to write. Or maybe it's just the life you secretly desire, but you keep observing from a distance because you mistakenly think you need some golden ticket to enter. You really don't. Opportunities rarely find people who are just hiding out in the crowd. They find the people who are in motion. The ones who are dusty, uncertain, maybe still figuring the whole shebang out, but are brave enough to stand in the arena anyway.
So here is your actual blueprint to shift your reality right now. Step 1. Enter the room. Stop hovering by the door. Step 2. Enter the conversation. Actually speak up about what you want to do. Step 3. Enter the industry. Claim your space in it, even if you are brand spanking new. And step 4. Enter the dream. The arena is not reserved for the fearless. It belongs entirely to those who are willing to enter despite the fear.
And that brings us to our final thought. The next time that little voice of doubt whispers that you don't belong, I want you to remember the fundamental truth we've explored here today. Nobody becomes the woman in the arena by staying in the crowd. So ask yourself right now, what is the one conversation you are actively avoiding today just because you've convinced yourself you don't belong in the room? Take the leap. Be the woman in the arena. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.